get into the deal. There we go. And it's starting. You got 1 minute.
I swear I'm gonna remember to bring Debbie.
Hot mics too, FYI.
Okay. Story's up if you wanna.
We got it. In the words of the kid on
30
Rocky
seconds.
Ford, we know. What do you think we are, nerds? Rocky Ford.
Alright, get ready, guys.
I have the levels jumping with my chewing.
9, 10 seconds.
And good afternoon out there, everyone. Jessica McBride, along with myself, Jason Salzman, welcoming you into Indian Time here on MuscogeeMedia.com as we get ready to lay out all the big news happenings, all the things going on in and around Muscogee Creek Nation here from our perspective at Muscogee Media. And the elephant in the room, the elephant that's hung out in the room for like the last 2 months, the health deficit. We have the big health deficit story up on MuscogeeMedia.com right now. It's part 1, actually. This thing is massive. So let me get you to there. Fractured finances. $65 million loan approved to resuscitate the health department. This is by Miss Jessica McBride here. Jessica, before we get into some of it, talk about what it's been like to put this first part together.
Well, it's been a long time coming, and you know, sifting through all of the budgets, all of the information that we had to gather, as well as many interviews, and still several interviews that we have yet to get, you know, and so this one is just the beginning. There is a lot more information that's to be told in future stories. We're probably looking at 4 other stories after this one, and so this is just the first part. It goes over legislation, and it also goes over statements by Speaker Lucian Tiger, as well as information that we were able to retrieve from George Tiger from the statement he gave to the Okmulgee News Network.
Yeah, and that brings me to a point, you know, with journalists and when we write stories or we put things together, especially something of this magnitude, at the end of it, there's going to be a lot of, yes, you know, I'm proud of this, or, you know, there's some of this that I really am glad about. There's always going to be some regrets, and I think for us, it's that we didn't get to talk to everybody. You know, we made ample requests to try and talk with former Chief Tiger and Seneca Smith to get this a complete story from all sides. Thankfully, there was a statement released to another news outlet from Chief Tiger that we could get statements from him from. But at the same time, that's kind of when I look at this whole thing at the first, I think it would have been nice to have those 2 gentlemen talk to us about it.
Right. As journalists, you know, there's always different views to each issue, to each story. And our job isn't to tell people what to think. Our job is to give people the information and let them draw a conclusion.
Yeah, because I think of note, you know, you look at the story too, and it's, you know, there's a lot of facts in there. There's a lot of paperwork, concrete evidence stuff that you've presented in a timeline. Let me go down into the story actually and point you all to the timeline. This is basically all the events, and you can bring it down from 2012 as we move along to 2013. August 2nd, starting with Manhattan getting contracted to do the Okemah Hospital. It's approved, $2.7 million. And, you know, as the story shows this was all voted on unanimously by the council, and then it was signed away by Principal Chief George Tiger. So everybody on the same page with as we go through the timeline.
Yeah. There's a couple of those pieces of legislation that I go over. We reviewed 30 pieces of legislation, throughout the last several years, and some of them didn't pass unanimously. And I call that out in my story. Who voted against them, but all of them were also signed by the principal chief at the time, George Tiger. And so all of these measures made it through, and were not vetoed or didn't fail in council.
Yeah, and I think you look at this quote here by Lucian Tiger, the speaker. Absolutely, we're all responsible because we were all voting for the hospital in Okemah, for the Eufaula Clinic as well. So we've all voted for that. So absolutely, we're accountable for that. And then you have former Chief Tiger. We didn't just go and arbitrarily ask for a certain amount of money. We came up with a plan for the Muscogee Memorial Hospital acquisition, and the council approved it. We felt it was a good decision for all parties involved. So they are saying their part in the fact that this all was going on at the same time as a deficit. So where are we at now as we go to, I guess, part 2?
Well, the next several stories will go over the audits. They will go over the budgets. They will go over the loans that we have just for the Department of Health, and also a wrap up of what happens now. Where we go from here. We've heard in some of the meetings that there will be some restructuring of the health department, and so we're going to look at those aspects as well. Speaking of which, we do have an interview with Principal Chief James Floyd tomorrow to answer some of our remaining questions, and so hopefully we get those answers that we need to finish the entire series on behalf of the executive branch and the health department.
And that interview is going to be entirely about health, right? I mean, we're not going to move anything else into that.
And it all concerns the health department. There are different aspects having to do with health itself, having to do with the finances, having to do with some various things, but it's all surrounding the health deficit.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to be looking for that. I don't know if we'll have it up tomorrow afternoon, probably.
Well, we should mention too that the questions have been provided.
Right.
Yeah,
we sent over.
Yeah.
We sent over the questions, and so hopefully we'll be able to get answers to all of those.
Yeah, and Sterling Cosper, our editor of the Muscogee Nation News, gave a fantastic description of prior restraint yesterday. Go back and watch Indian Time from yesterday if you would get a little bit of a lesson on that and how we're handling that and giving the questions and so on. So that's a really good watch for everybody out there that doesn't really have an idea of how that works. So it's a good explanation there. Moving along to outside news. The big news in Indian country, anyway, for most Native Americans out there, I've seen a lot of joyous response on social media today from Native Americans. Andrew Jackson off the $20 bill. So that's pretty neat.
Who's he being replaced with?
He's being replaced with Harriet Tubman, the conductor of the Underground Railroad. And Harriet Tubman, if anybody out there doesn't know about her, go pick up a book. She's a hero. And actually what's neat, too, is that this $20 it was what she was actually paid for her service in the Civil War.
Oh, so, wow.
Yeah, pretty neat.
Yeah, and Harriet Tubman's the one that they ended up with, but that for a time there we were covering that story about Wilma Mankiller.
They were considering Wilma Mankiller actually too. And what's neat is they expect this to be changed. Now, I know everybody'd like to see her on there tomorrow, but there's currently billions of 20s in circulation and everything like that. So it takes a little while to get everything ready and get the money changed over. So looking for this to be fully in place by 2020. That would be the centennial, I believe, of the 19th Amendment, which would give women, of course, women the right to vote. So very cool there. And I think, that's really neat that all the women were up for it to replace Jackson, because I think if you, a lot of people are, look at our money and I think a good way to look at it is, you don't really know you have to take into account the way everybody sees our historical figures in this country, including the people that these historical figures have probably not been so good to. Jackson, of course, Native Americans. all the rest of them African Americans, because, as you know, we've pointed out before, there was this big thing when Saddam Hussein, he got taken off the money. And you still have African Americans over here going, well, yeah, but our money's like baseball cards for slave owners. You know what I mean? So, you look at that, and so people go, why are they taking, some people might say, why are they taking Andrew Jackson, Old Hickory, off the $20 bill? There's a lot of people that don't see him as a hero. They see him as somebody that forced removal.
And originally he wasn't, the $20 bill wasn't up for the change. It was the $10 bill with Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's supposed to be some changes coming to that too. The $10 bill is going to get a woman on the opposite side from Hamilton.
Okay.
So Hamilton's going to be on one side, and I'm drawing a blank.
Hillary Clinton?
No.
No, that's good.
Not Hillary Clinton.
No. Our friend Chief Baker would love to see that. Yeah. No, it's a neat thing. I thought it was a neat story. There's a lot of people talking about it. Mm-hmm. And like I said, Andrew Jackson, removal, it's not a good thing with our Native American people in this country. Removal was something bad that we survived. We're here still, but certainly a sordid part of our past and history. I think the people that wanted Hamilton off were the remaining descendants and family members of Aaron Burr. I think that's who that was. They don't like that Alexander Hamilton guy. All right. Well, also, we have another story up on our Muscogee Media site. Let me go back to the homepage of the Mikos. Miko, actually. I got my Mikos meeting mixed up with Miko the movie. But Miko show was shown here in Muscogee last week. And Amanda Rutland went and did this. And she talked with director and filmmaker there, Sterling Harjo, and got a lot of information on that. And, of course, our own Watco Long, one of our guys that we know, great hymn singer and, just a traditionalist. And, you can see him in all of our B-roll footage from the Canoe Dugout project. He stars in the film. He's in the film, and he's a big part of it. So it's really been neat to see Watco actually go on these press events for the film and everything like that. It's pretty neat. So got a lot of content on MuscogeeMedia.com. Go check it out. Keep up with us on the health story, as we said, front and center there. Fractured finances. That's part one of our health coverage. Jessica, great job on that. It's good to see you climb out from under the mountain of paperwork that you've been sifting through. We certainly commend you, though, for your hard work and diligence on this, because that is a ton of stuff to get through and to corroborate into something that's readable and able to be deciphered from our citizens in a way where you're not just looking at a bunch of numbers and things like that. There's an explanation. There's quotes from all parties. Maybe if we didn't get them directly, but there's quotes from most parties, and so it's a fine story, and we want you to go to the website and check it out. Also, keep up with us on our Facebook page, Muscogee Nation News, Native News Today, all kinds of things happening this weekend on the show. Don't forget to check it out. Aaron Carapella, Tribal Nations Maps. We have a great conversation with him that doesn't just center on maps. Believe it or not, we branched out into a few different things. So it was quite a story, quite an interview, and we showed you the whole thing in its entirety on the show. So a lot of great things coming out of the paper, television, radio show. Make sure and listen to the radio show. Gary's got some great shows lined up. He's been talking about some of the guests he's going to be having on there, so he's fired up about that, and we're glad about it too, and can't wait for that to hit the airwaves. So, Jessica, thanks for being with me today for this version of Indian Time. We want to make sure everybody out there keeps going to our YouTube channel, keeps going to the video section of our website. You can access all of the stuff we're putting up as we put it up and as we get it finished, and so it's right there at your fingertips on demand. Thank you so much for being with me, as I said again, and we'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, Indian time, here on MuscogeeMedia.com.